Hi, I'm DJ Ware. On this episode of the CyberGizmo, I'm going to take a look at Red Hat's Global Customer Tech Outlook Survey for 2020, right after this. So Red Hat sent me this earlier in the week, and I'm still waiting on getting some data from the risk group. We have a meeting tomorrow morning to go over the summit. I did not attend, but I want to attend to recap with them and then see what's going on with it. I know that there was a lot of enhancements with virtual machines, and I know there's been a lot of boards that have been released that are higher powered. But today, what I wanted to really do was, for those of you that are in the tech industry that are looking for jobs, looking to maybe get a better job, something like this is always a good way to gauge where your skill set should be when you're looking for a job to kind of help you make yourself more marketable and maybe get a little bit better pay too. So they sent Red Hat sent this survey form around to their customers in August and September of 2019. They got back about 876 qualified responses. And I don't know exactly what that means, but maybe it means that they verified that they are indeed Red Hat customers. But they looked at 5 key areas, and the first one they looked at was hybrid. And this would be hybrid cloud computing. And hybrid cloud computing is that's a balance between a private cloud that the company would establish internally and a public cloud that they would use for public-facing parts of their business. So a hybrid cloud allows them to keep the data that is internal to the company secure, where you can still use the public cloud providers to share and provide information to the public or sell products to the public as well. So according to them, that the most important strategy for the customers. Now, this would be the North America, and this is 31%. 31% of the respondents of that 876 said that hybrid computing was cloud computing was the most important thing to them for 2020. And if you live, and then the second priority was the private cloud, 21%. 17% are still looking at cloud strategies, and 12% no plans. And then there was some others that were standardizing and some that were using multi-cloud, which is kind of weird. That you would have almost exactly the same number that was standardizing on a public cloud, and some that were looking for multiple ones. Multiple ones would be used if you wanted high availability and you were trying to protect, to make sure that the system that you're deploying on the public cloud is available all the time, and cloud providers do occasionally go down. So in comparison to the other areas, you have North America. This would be Europe, Middle East, and Africa, EMEA, and 25% of those are looking at hybrid cloud. But down here, you see that this would be private cloud first. So 33% of those people are looking at a private cloud first solution, and as compared to 16% in North America. This is Asia Pacific. 35% are looking at hybrid. And so there's quite a bit more interest here than there is in the US or EMEA. And of course, this is Latin America. So this would be 39%. They're very interested in hybrid cloud, and 31% are private cloud first. So that gives you some idea. Now, this was kind of vague. Digital transformation projects are usually those that are replacing desktop applications with cloud-based applications. That might mean they would be going to the Microsoft Office suite in the 360 and using the cloud-based version of Microsoft Word. It could also mean that they were moving more of their apps up to the cloud instead of installing them on individual desktops or servers. So yeah, digital transformation, that's generally what that means. So they, over the past 2 years, now they're comparing this year and last year, 2019, together and looking at a trend. So 32% were looking at digital transformation in 2018. That fell. Excuse me, that fell to 14% in 2019, and it fell again in 2020. So I think, I think there, I think there might be some issues here, but they are looking to implement new tech and processes. That increased 31%, 2019, 50 in 2019, 59 in 2020. So that in that particular segment, they are definitely looking for additional ways to transform their business, but apparently digital transformation is not the way they want to do it. 34% transforming, 25% looking at emerging or new technologies. So this is probably a field where you would be looking at improving processes within the company or trying to maximize or leverage lower costs in order to be able to deploy applications to your employees or to even your users. And then they talked about the absolute top priority is innovation. I always laugh when I see that. That's a bingo word because I don't know what that means, and I doubt that they do either. And we need to deliver innovative solutions. Yeah, okay, that's nice. 22% want to do that. 20% want to make things easier. Yeah, that would make sense because that drives costs down. So that in that kind of a case, what they're trying to do there is trying to speed up the time it takes to maintain the systems. Maybe they're looking at making the ability to collect information or to store information simpler and easier. Yeah, that would definitely be a valid one because you're trying to streamline your flow of information or your ability to store and the ability to use it. User experience, 19%. So again, another vague one. User experience is dependent on the region of the world that you're in. The user experience here in the US is quite different than it would be in Latin America or especially Asia and Pacific. So again, that's another vague one. I don't really know what they mean by that. Cost, yeah, we've heard that for years. We need to reduce costs. Cost reduction is done through automation. So automation or consolidation, that's the only two ways you can manage costs. Unfortunately, the hardware costs are going up. They're not going down, they're going up. So, yeah, need to do things faster. Yeah, again, that's another buzzword that's been around for the last 50 years. Yeah, of course we want to do things faster. But one of the things that is showing up in this year is skill set. They are getting concerned that the pool of available IT people are not sufficient to the needs of the organization. And we'll see more of that a little bit later on. So in a breakdown of the digital transformation, what are they looking to do? Optimize, yeah. Again, optimizing IT is reducing costs in the support of the information technology infrastructure and the support. So yeah, that's been around for the last 50 years. That I've been trying to do that forever. Cloud infrastructure, 13%. That's shifting the burden off to somebody else and then paying for it. Generally, that is not a good way to optimize IT. It usually ends up more expensive, particularly with high volume systems. So they'll quickly find that that's probably not going to be the way to do it. IT security, again, if you're in a cloud environment, you're pushing your IT security off to somebody else. 12% are interested in that. That is actually an increase from last year. I remember the IT security last year was around 6%, 8%, somewhere around in there. So yeah, it's good that they're finally getting some focus in this area because we certainly do need it. IT operations automation, we'll see later on where what they're actually trying to do there, but yeah, definitely can see that. Enterprise integration, that's always been an issue, especially with proprietary products and trying to integrate them into an infrastructure and having incompatible APIs or incompatible data formats or incompatible storage formats. That's always been an issue. Application development doesn't look like this is as important as it once was. So if you're doing digital transformation or you're doing open source, you're probably moving your application development into either open source or you're purchasing services from another company like Microsoft or Adobe. IT cloud management, 7%. Usually that would be more important in a private or a hybrid cloud. Since, yeah, you'd have some backup strategies in the public because generally the cloud providers don't do that. That's your responsibility. And then analytics, big data, 6%. I suspect by now that if they were going to do big data, they would have started. Automation, business processes, that's always been a concern because that's how you reduce costs. Storage concerns. Now, I'm surprised at this one because I saw a survey last year where IT was really concerned that they would not have enough storage to meet their needs for 2020. So I'm really kind of surprised that maybe this was the executive teams looking at this and maybe they don't know they have a problem in their storage areas. But yeah, so number 3 was 11% of the customers said they're facing skills and technical gaps. But you know that is pretty significant. That's a problem. And then they talk about 17% cited challenges around technical debt, and still another 11% said they didn't have enough automation in place. So I don't know if those are really related. You'd have to really run the data through and see if there's a correlation between those two. But if there is, then the IT technical challenges seem to be affecting their ability to automate, which would be serious. That means that would reduce their ability to reduce costs. So yeah, that would be a serious problem for a business. So technical debt, meaning that both in existing and legacy IT do not have the skill set available to them to be able to fully staff and be able to solve problems. So yeah. That's good, but you need to understand what skill sets they're wanting. So where do they want them? Manual processes need automation. So DevOps, probably a good way to interpret that one. Skill sets or talent gaps, that's too vague. Don't know what we're really interested in there. Integration issues. So that would be an integration architect or an integration developer type of position. You can look those up as to what those skill sets require. Security, again, that's 10% of the 10% gap is pretty significant. Usually when you find gaps like this, companies are willing to pay more for those skills because they're less available. It's a supply and demand thing. Organizational resistance to change. You're not going to fix that one ever. That is strictly management has to deal with that one. IT doesn't usually do that. It's not a problem for IT to solve. Conflicting priorities. Now, if there are conflicting priorities within an IT organization, they clearly haven't planned things well. If there's conflicting priorities within the company as a whole, that means the management staff has no clue as to what the other guys are doing, and so they're creating overlaps. And so that again, IT is not going to solve that problem. So they're looking for containers. 62% say they have minimal container use and they want more. So there you go. That would be Kata, that would be Docker, and that would be all of those things. And also the orchestration pieces that go along with it. So if you're looking, there you go. So that would be a hot one to go bother. 62% are looking to do that. And so probably not a long-term strategy since they're saying that 62% of what they've done are already containerized, but they have 20% they're not able to do. Is that what they're saying? Yeah, so within the 24 months, this would be a short term. And then they're looking at, so you can see what probably your life of your employment there is. This is probably not a long-term one, a long-term employment opportunity. So 60% technology skills training, okay. You would have to, probably the best thing to do here is if you get into this, go look at the job ads and go see what the skill set requirements are and see where the hot buttons are. I'm going to bet that it's going to be in DevOps, it's going to be in AI, it's going to be an integration. Those are the three things that have been a problem for the last year in trying to staff. Security is also an issue, that seems to the demand for that seems to bump every time there's a big security breach. So time your job interviews with a no, I'm just kidding. Yeah, people and process skills training. Again, that's not a problem for IT to solve. That is business planners, not IT. Change management, that's not an IT problem to solve. Artificial intelligence, yes, that is definitely a priority. And they're saying that 30% plan to use AI and machine learning over the next 12 months. Yeah, I know it's a hot skill, and they down here they're talking about fog and edge. So if you're looking at a career choice, you're probably looking at, personally, I think edge computing is a really stupid idea. Fog computing makes a heck of a lot more sense to me, and I've said that before. You can go back to my videos and you can go look at it. Edge is chaos. If you go back in time and you look at it, the number of times we've gone from centralized to distributed, you'll notice that that pendulum has always moved to the center every single time, and it's because centralized doesn't work and distributed doesn't work. What works is when you have both. So that would be fog. So personally, they're going to come around to fog. If you're looking at a long-term change in a job, go to fog. If you're looking at a short-term, go to edge. So that's my advice. Artificial intelligence, 30%. Probably have a real good chance to land a job in AI. So that would be a good one. Function as a service. This is a marketing one. Function as a service is part of development. So basically what you're trying to do there is get to a serverless environment. So I don't know. I think serverless environment is pretty much a marketing term, and it's really no more than what we have been doing. There are some subtleties in the way it's developed, but it's nothing more than that. Internet of Things, blockchain seem to be pretty high. Not really, maybe mid. So you might look at that if you're not interested in the other two. Augmented reality, I don't see any future in that. Edge, definitely, that one will grow. My prediction is it may not happen next year, but fog will definitely grow as they find out that they can't keep up with the edge, with the influx of all the edge computers driving data into the system. Manage compatibility. Okay, so now we're talking about DevOps here, I think. Relevant data, provision, yes, we're talking about DevOps. So the big problem here, compatibility and complexities of evolving software stack. Yeah, so that points right at the architects, that they are not doing a good job in determining what will fit together. They're just throwing stuff into the box and hoping that it'll work, or that somebody can figure out the APIs to integrate them together. That points to a poor architect in doing their job. So, or it's pointing to political decisions being made to choose products without any regard for how well they will integrate together. Typically, you'll find that more in the proprietary space where they protect the APIs than you would in the open software space. Yes, you can run into API problems in the open space, but again, if you have a good architect and they're looking at how to integrate these functions together, maybe it requires glue code, maybe it requires standardization within the APIs. That's why we look for standardization, is because we try to avoid problems like that one. Those can be very costly to fix, and they can be very costly to maintain. So avoidance of that one is always a good one, as much as you can. You can't always, but access to relevant data. That one has been I've seen that one come up for years. The users and the business users and the executive staff have always been complaining about that, being able to get to information to help them do their jobs and make decisions better. That has been a problem since the 80s. I don't think that one's going to go away. So if you're looking for a hot job, there you go. Getting ID to provision infrastructure. That, to me, would be a short-term one. I think it's more important that when you're doing DevOps, provisioning is a nice part of it, but you have to look longer term. You have to look at maintaining the system. You have to look at keeping the system secure. You have to make sure that you're in line with the developers so they're not bringing in some technology that your DevOps is going to blow up on, or they're going to replace a library that other applications are running that could force those applications to become unstable. So yeah, provisioning infrastructure, that's great. That's just standing up. I think probably something that would be even more important here would be consolidation of infrastructure. Because there, in today's environment, with all these high number of core machines coming in, it would be very easy. And I think Level 1 did this just recently, where they were looking at paring down the number of servers that they were using in their environment, and came down from, I don't know how many he had. He had like 2 or 3 racks of systems and got it down to like 4 servers. So yeah, that is going to save costs. It's going to save power. It's going to save energy. In terms of cooling costs. So yeah, those are kinds of things that provisioning would be helpful with. Cloud providers, when you get into that space, you don't get a choice in the hardware. So unless it's a private cloud, and then you do. So that's up to them, and they, of course, will pass those costs directly back to you, whatever it costs. So iterating and optimizing models for performance, that has been, that's probably one of the oldest problems I know of. That was originally, I saw that one day one in my career back in the 70s. Yeah, that's been around for a while. And then 5, it's not just about technology. I don't know what this means. It's always been about technology. Whoever's saying this is another marketing person. Technology is how innovation occurs, and also technology is how it becomes more efficient and higher performant. So yeah, I'm not quite sure I understand this. This is probably some business person that's trying to squeak into the IT world without a clue on how IT works. Personal opinion. 29% have no plans to evolve. That's sad. That is really sad. That means that those companies have decided that they don't want to spend any more on IT. And in this climate, they're going to get run over. Bad idea, poor idea. Let's see, leading. We are well into the transformation process and have seen success, 5%. Good. Transformation, or using new processes to innovate and transform how we work, 17%. I would expect that to be higher. Emerging, we're starting to adopt new processes. So the goal is not to adopt technology for technology's sake. The goal is to adopt technology that will improve your business. It'll solve these problems, like up here where we're talking about. I want to manage my complexities. I need access to relevant data. I need to provision my systems faster, and I want to interact with optimization models to help my company perform better. So yeah, those are the problems that these companies are looking to solve, but just picking technology for technology's sake could end up making things worse, right? Because if you don't have good strategies for integration, you don't have good strategies for how the data is going to flow, you're going to end up in trouble. We have not started yet and just beginning. So these people are planning, and that's good. That means that they're taking the time to figure out what they need. And that is key. If you don't do that, you're going to end up down here where you're going to run out of money and not be able to do anything new. Let's see what else they got here. Collaboration between ops and dev. Yeah, that's what I just said. Yes, 65% want better collaboration. That's great. Good idea. You should be working with the developers, and the operations team should be working with them. For 2 reasons. One, the application developers are going to be way ahead of any kind of purchasing strategies for ops. So the ops people need to know what impact is going to occur for their infrastructure as the application space evolves. Now, app developer space could be external. It could be third party. It could be proprietary applications. It could be open source, and it also could be internal development to do integration coding. So, yeah, good idea. Don't disagree with that. 29% are unsure or prefer not to share. Okay, that's fair. And collaboration between ops and dev teams are not including a culture. Whatever. So the bottom line here, 22% are committed to open source. Why isn't that higher? Okay, companies out there, why are you not looking at open source? Are you let me reiterate to you guys why open source is important. One, source code is published. We can do security audits on it. We can find out if it's going to have a security vulnerabilities before it's an issue. Second, it's better supported. There are more people using it. If you're in a proprietary environment, those things are all closed up. They don't talk to anybody. They don't share any data. And when you find some kind of problem, guess what? It affects all of you. So I don't quite understand why that's not higher. So anyway, secure and reliable, yeah, it's 15%, really. You don't want, so does that mean that the other 85% of you don't care about security? Watch out for another data breach roller coaster next year. Customer support, 12%. So they don't care about their customers, 88%. This is the way I would interpret this data. I don't get this. IT has never really cared about their end users very much, and that's been true over time. IT will typically do just enough to keep getting more money to build a bigger empire. I'm sorry, but I'm not employed. I don't have to cater to them anymore, so I'm not employed by any of those guys. So I don't really care what they think. Investment in open source, 12%. So you got 22% committed and 12% that are investing. So that means you got 12% of the total respondents that are turning code back into the open source. I don't know what the actual trend is, but that seems pretty good. I mean, if you got that many people that are willing to share their code back, great. I mean, that's cool. Community-driven innovation. Now, there is one problem that some companies have with open source, and that is they run into this. Some of these license agreements in the open source community require them to put, if they made any changes to the open source, that they have to turn it back in. And of course, if they're doing things that are particular to their business, which they consider intellectual property, they're probably not going to be too willing to do that. So yeah, I can understand that part. Community-driven innovation. I have no idea what that means. I mean, I could define innovation as just replacing the screws on the front of the rack with a blue color instead of a red. I don't get it. So, no vendor lock-in. Yeah, that's been, again, another popular IT theme for the last 4 years. The problem with vendor lock-ins is it gets very costly to migrate away if they find that all of a sudden they're having a problem with their vendor. So, yeah, that was an interesting survey, and I'm sorry for my acidic comments, but this is just the way I am. I've been reading these tea leaves for marketing for over 40 years. So it's hard not to become jaded. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this topic today. So takeaways from this are DevOps, application integration or systems integration, and also I would say AI. Those are the three big takeaways. As far as the other stuff is concerned, as there are probably, and security, of course, I think is still a big issue, and I think that time your job interviews with a large. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, but if you did time your job interviews after a large security breach, they probably would be really willing to talk to you. So, but I'm not. Don't do what I'm just thinking you might do. But anyway, those are some of the things that I would be looking at. Is definitely AI, definitely DevOps, definitely integration. Those are some things that have always been a problem. As far as edge versus fog, edge would be a good initial starting point, but I don't think you're going to be in that job very long. I think you'll soon be moving over to fog. So if you do move in that direction, make sure you understand fog, because you will be moving to it. I guarantee it. Anyway, hope to see you again soon. And if you would, please like and subscribe. Hope to see you in the next one. Bye for now.